Jeopardy! Please welcome our contestant. Player one. And now, here is the host of Jeopardy, Alex Trebek.
Thanks, Johnny. Welcome to Jeopardy, everyone. Good luck to you in the Jeopardy round. For this game, the categories are as follows. Let's visit India. Bible belts. Medical talk. Star Trek jargon. World geography. And defined in the OED. Player one, you start. Northern India is the birthplace of this religion started by Siddhartha. Yes, player one? Good. Please pick again, player one. The director of an orchestra or chorus. Player one?
Yeah!
Good for you. You again, player one. A lofty tower forming part of a church. Okay, player one.
Yeah!
Good. Player one, back to you. A large, many-celled berry with a leathery yellow, orange, or red rind. Let's hear it, player one. That's correct. We return to you, player one. A road junction designed so that traffic streams do not intersect. Player one?
Yeah!
We return to you, player one, to move from site to site on the internet. Okay, player one. Yes. Select again. Under the East India Company and then the government, this country ruled most of India until 1947. Here's the correct response. England. Select again. In India, a mahout is a keeper of these animals. Here's the response we were looking for. Elephants. Select again. Eden Gardens in Calcutta is the world's largest stadium for this sport, popular in India. Here's what we wanted. Cricket. Player one, back to you for our next selection. He was India's first Prime Minister. Here's the correct response. Jawaharlal Nehru. Select again. Melbourne is in the Australian state named for this woman, a friend of Viscount Melbourne. Here's the correct response. Victoria. You again, player one. Here's Jimmy from our Clue Crew with the clue.
Victor Hugo described the tide rising as swiftly as a galloping horse here at Mont Saint-Michel in this country.
We're talking about France. Select again. Paulistas live in a large city in this large South American country. Here's the response we were looking for. Brazil. Select again. This country's Grand Canal ends at the port of Hangzhou. Yes, player one? Sorry, that's wrong. Here's the response we were looking for. China. Player one, back to you. It's Africa's highest mount that shares its name with a country. We're talking about Mount Kenya. Player one, choose again. In Judges, Samson whopped on 1,000 Philistines with this part of an ass. It's player one. Sorry, that's wrong. Here's the correct response. The jawbone. Player one, back to you. In a book named for Moses' successor, this man smites the Gibeonites, the Hebronites, and the Eglonites. Okay, Player one. Good. We return to you, Player one. In Numbers chapter 20, after the Israelites complained, Moses smote one of these twice, and water came out. Okay, Player one. Right. Player one, back to you for our next selection. After striking down his brother in Genesis, this man said, "My punishment is greater than I can bear." Okay, Player one. Good. You get to pick again, Player one. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says that if someone smiteth you here, offer also the other. Player one. Here's the correct response. On the cheek. We return to you, Player one. This term refers to the painful inflammation of any of the fibrous structures that connect muscles to bones. Yes, Player one? Right. Player one, back to you for our next selection. To test for visual acuity, the Snellen chart is designed to be read from this many feet away. Here's the correct response. 20 feet. Player one, you pick again, please. It begins, "I swear by Apollo, physician, and Asclepius." Let's hear it, Player one. Yes. Player one, you pick again, please. Answer, it's the Daily Double. And you're in the lead now. What are you going to wager? All right, here's your clue. Luteinizing hormone is one of the many produced by this cherry-shaped gland. Nope. Sorry. Here's what we wanted. The pituitary. You again, Player one. And I'll hand it off to Jimmy.
When an injury like a cut is sustained, these blood cells change shape, become sticky, build up on the wound, and form a plug.
Let's hear it, Player one. Here's what we wanted. Thrombocytes. Player one, you pick again, please. The Type 2 of this weapon had a max power setting of 16 and could be set to heat, disrupt, or stun. It's Player one. You are correct. Player one, pick again. This device briefly converts a person to energy, beams the energy, then reassembles the person. Here's what we wanted. A transporter. We return to you, Player one. When Spock checks chronometric data, he's looking at measurements of the space-this continuum. It's Player one. You are correct. Select again. Created by Starfleet, it prohibits interference with other civilizations. Here's the correct response. The Prime Directive. And here's the $1,000 clue. This crystal regulates matter-antimatter reactions that provide energy for travel faster than light. The correct response is dilithium. The Double Jeopardy round will begin right after this. Categories for the Double Jeopardy round are the Civil War, energy, everyday Italian, World Heritage Sites, Music Class, and what I really want to do is direct. All right, if you're ready, it's double Jeopardy time. No slouch as an artist himself, Julian Schnabel directed the 1996 film about this Haitian-American graffiti artist. Here's the correct response. Jean-Michel Basquiat. You get to pick again, player one. This playwright gave Jessica Lange a big role when he directed the film Far North. Maybe he was a fool for love. Here's the correct response. Sam Shepard. Select again. This dancer and choreographer turned director for the Broadway musical Redhead, which starred Gwen Verdon. Here's what we were looking for. Bob Fosse. You again, player one. Years before directing Batman and Robin, he had been a costume designer for Woody Allen, who encouraged him to direct. Here's the response we were looking for. Joel Schumacher. We return to you, player one. He designed titles for silent films before he made us scream over birds and psychos. Here's the correct response. Alfred Hitchcock. Select again. On sheet music, this sign identifies the second line of the staff as the G above middle C. Player one? That's it. Player one, back to you for our next selection. The name of this section of an orchestra comes from the Latin for a beating. Player one? That's correct. Please pick again, player one. Let's get Jimmy's assistance on this clue.
The guitarist here is playing one of these, defined as a combination of 3 or more notes.
Yes, player one? No, that's not right. Here's the correct response. A chord. Select again. You may have studied these Chopin pieces whose name is French for studies. Here's the correct response. Etudes. Player one. Pick again. Rachmaninoff wrote one on a theme of Paganini. Gershwin wrote one in blue. The correct response is a rhapsody. Player one, back to you. A visit to this country's Komodo National Park shouldn't drag on all day. Let's hear it, player one. That is correct. You get to pick again, player one. You can visit this country's Los Olmedos Historic Park even if you're not a Viking. The correct response is Canada. Please pick again, player one. Answer, one of the daily doubles. And you have the lead. Player one, give us a wager. The clue, this South American capital didn't exist 60 years ago. Yes. Player one, pick again. And I'll hand it off to Kelly.
The pyramid known as the castle is one of the wonders of this ancient Mayan city.
It's player one. Here's the correct response. Chichen Itza. Player one, back to you for our next selection. This entire Italian city, spread over 118 islands, is a World Heritage Site. Here's what we wanted. Venice. Player one, pick again. Formaggio. Is this dairy product? Let's hear it, player one. No. Here's what we were looking for. Cheese. You again, player one. This food staple is pane. Here's the correct response. Bread. You get to pick again, player one. This body part is il piede. Here's the response we were looking for. A foot. Player one, back to you. This quadruped is un cavallo. Here's the correct response. A horse. Player one, you pick again, please. This day of the week is martedì. Here's the response we were looking for. Tuesday. Player one, choose again. Electricity can be produced by CSP, short for this solar power. It's done with mirrors. Okay, player one. No. We're talking about concentrating. Select again. The SPR, the Strategic This Reserve, was created by the U.S. government in 1977. It's player one. No. The correct response is petroleum. Player one, back to you for our next selection. Answer, the second daily double. You are in first place. You need to select your wager. Okay, here is the clue. The Sequoia 1 nuclear reactor near Chattanooga is operated by this agency established in 1933. Sorry, that's wrong. We're talking about the TVA. Please pick again, player one. Here's Jimmy to start us off.
A windmill is a simple type of this, a machine with a rotor to turn flow into energy.
Let's hear it, player one.
Yeah!
Right. Player one, pick again. In 1937, an explosion of this, unodorized, killed 300 people in a New London, Texas school. Here's what we were looking for. Natural gas. We return to you, player one. Let's get Sarah's assistance on this clue.
At the 1863 Battle of Gettysburg, the Union's center line at Cemetery Ridge was hit by 12,000 Confederates, who suffered 42% casualties in the skirmish known as this man's charge.
Player one? No, sorry. Here's what we wanted. George Pickett. Player one, back to you. This national battlefield in Sharpsburg, Maryland, commemorates the bloodiest single day of the Civil War. It's player one. You are correct. Player one, back to you. Sherman's campaign for this city took 3 months in 1864. Here's the correct response. Atlanta. Please pick again, player one. In 1862, Confederate General Beauregard wanted Island Number 10 in this body of water held at all costs. Didn't happen. Let's hear it, player one.
Yeah.
Right. And the last clue for $2,000. The hopeless mud march in a Virginia downpour ended Burnside's command of the force called this Army. Here's what we were looking for. Army of the Potomac. Looks like you'll be moving on to Final Jeopardy after this commercial break. This is the Final Jeopardy category for today. Literary characters. You need to select your wager. And the last clue? This hero is the son of Ecgtheow and the grandson of Hrethel. Did you come up with the correct response? How much do you add to your total with that correct response? This makes you our new champion, Player One, so congratulations. Good game. Thank you so much for playing.